access to the same page that we're seeing here in the Zoom window. But I think it'll be much bigger if you have it in your tab. So if you want to really read what's in there, you can go look at that while you're listening through.
Somebody had to figure out sticky notes.
Awesome. So that's great. So not only is this an unofficial start opening activity, we learn a new tech skill at the same time.
And then just to let everyone know, we are recording this session just so that we can post later on to our Trainer Connection community. So just a FYI, this will be recorded.
All right, so our new folks that have come in, we've got some tech check reminders on this unofficial start slide that you can see in your view window. What is the most important item would be for you to look at number 3 there and get your chat opened up so you can cut and paste the Jamboard link that should be appearing in there, or if it hasn't appeared yet, it will appear very soon. Dawn's working on that, but we're going to be using this Jamboard Google feature throughout the Trainer Connection session today. And right now people are adding some items according to our prompt of an interesting, funny, or crazy thing that have happened in an online meeting. And so as you can see on these sticky notes, which are over there, the functions on the left of the Jamboard, where it has the kind of peeled up square of paper right underneath that arrow icon. Some folks have put a few keywords on there to remind us where some people fit the whole story on there. And we were just laughing about the preschool folks always have a potty story or somebody eating something gross or, you know, pulling something out of their nose. So we have the ironclad stomach story about anything audience here. So let's see here. First time I've used Jamboard, showing us the love. Okay, someone reported seeing someone in a bathrobe and hair rollers during the Zoom meeting. Yeah, that person needed to learn how to cut their video off. One person was zooming in from a salon under the hair dryer. Yeah, that's pretty wild. Someone had just woken up for the presentation and the person had to get it together, rubbing the sleep out of their eyes. Oh man. So I would like to have the GOAT Zoom bomber share her story that's very reflective of our rural Kentucky culture and technology coming together. So Glenna, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I was on a Zoom call and my neighbors have goats. I don't have about 17 of them right now. So I was sitting here and I heard something on the porch. I look out the window and they're all standing in my furniture on the porch looking through the window like, we know you can't do anything. So I go to shoo them off the porch, and when I open the door, they come in the house. I never did like to get all the goats out. I finished the call with a goat in my lap, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I was going to say
that was last week too, so that's fresh news.
Yeah, so what's the procedure? Did you mute but leave the video on while you were corralling, or did you shut down all input? How did that go?
Shut down all input because you never know where that's going to lead.
That's always a
visually or sound.
And good to do that before you step up and away because
yes.
Yeah, that's just smart zooming right there.
Yes.
Well, congratulations on figuring that out, and I understand that's an ongoing issue in your setting. So
they were here today, as a matter of fact, between Zoom calls though, so I didn't have to worry.
Gotcha. All right, Dawn, you ready to take this over?
I think I am. Make sure nobody else needs admitted. I got distracted there for a little bit and there were like 6 people in the waiting room. So making sure I don't forget anybody this time. So
I was reminded for you.
When somebody mentioned the snoring, I'd forgotten all about it. Like I was on a call, like it wasn't like a Zoom, it was just between me and somebody else on through Microsoft Teams or maybe Zoom, I can't remember which. And I was in the living room and my husband was snoring on the couch next to me. And she was like, who's snoring? And I'm like, oh, sorry, that's my husband. So then I left that room. So, all right. So today we're just going to be talking about online training. For the last, I forget how many months it is now, 7, however it's been since March. Things have been a little bit different, and it has been a lot harder to do the face-to-face if we want to do them. And so a lot of people are definitely asking about online training. I will say that it is a whole world that could probably spend like 6 hours talking about. And so it's a big thing. And so we know a lot of people just don't know what it is, what to do, how do I get started? So we wanted to do one of our trainer connections about that, since that's been something a lot of people have been asking about. So that's what we wanted to set up today. So we really do want to have like an informal conversation. We don't have anything major planned. I don't have like giant PowerPoint presentations and going over all of these things. We'll talk about a few things, and then we're going to have opportunities to go into breakout rooms where you guys can discuss things a little bit further. The first thing that I wanted to show you though was Jamboard. I know a lot of you guys are already on this page. I will be sharing my screen, so you will always see the Jamboard page up that we are using. So I will be sharing my screen. I'm going to have it up just in case. I know there's going to be some people who may not be able to get access to it very easily. So that's why I'll have it up. But please know, once you have that link open and up, you have access to this Jamboard. So you don't have to do anything special. You are on there. And we'll make sure this link stays active. And as long as you actually have this link, you can go back at any point that you want to and look and see what people have added, taken away. The only time this link won't be available is if I ever delete it. Like that's when this link goes away. So you'll notice up here at the top, there are a couple of arrows, and this says 1 of 8. So I'm kind of treating this like a PowerPoint presentation. It is not a PowerPoint presentation, but that's kind of how I'm treating it. So if you want to move through, you just click these arrows at the top and that will move you through. I will keep kind of putting the link in the chat every so often, but just know that, you know, that is the same link, just in case you accidentally close it down or something and need that link back again. All right, so Hans, am I forgetting anything? I feel like there was something else I was gonna say. And
sorry, I've been typing IT and I've not been listening to you at all. So you need to look elsewhere.
I feel so insulted. That's all right. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and go on. So before we go into our first breakout room, we did kind of want to go over a couple of common terms and some things to keep in mind that are just really basic to doing online training. One of the common terms is webinar. So a webinar is any type of presentation or workshop that is transmitted via the internet. Webinars will usually have these interactive elements like discussions. A Zoom meeting would be considered a webinar. So that's kind of, it's almost the same as face-to-face, you're just not face-to-face. So that's kind of how I relate it. Online training, so when somebody says online, technically what that is, it's an internet browser-based training session. So when you like log on to HDI Learning and you enroll in a training, you're taking an online course. You know, when you go through CCEI, when you go through any of those online companies, those are online trainings. An independent study is instructor-led, and there are usually lessons and assignments that are given to the participants, and they work on those independently, but there will be regular contact with the instructor. It may or may not be internet-based, so it could be you're handing them paper things. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean that it will be all on the internet. It's just instructor-led, and there's that conversation, that regular contact. A hybrid course is a blend of face-to-face or webinar instruction. Oh, there's a typo. Hans, you didn't catch that one. Hans caught a typo earlier.
Oh no, a typo I missed?
You missed it, sorry. But it's also gonna have online or independent study activities. So for people who are familiar with FET, FET would be considered a hybrid course because there is a chunk of it that is done online, and then a year ago, there was a chunk of it done face-to-face. Now that piece is done in an online webinar-based format. So that's what a hybrid is. You're blending two of those components together. A learning management system, or an LMS, is another thing that you'll probably come in contact with when you're starting to think about online learning. Basically, it's some type of platform. Typically, it's a website that maintains your trainings and allows users to access them. It is not required for online learning, but it can help you just depending on how you choose to do it. If you do, just some things to keep in mind, what is the cost or fee? Is it going to be within your budget to offer it? Do you need it to accept payments? Does it accept those payments for you? So will it take your credit card information for people? And then if you're doing that, what type of security is there? Is there some type of security to make sure personal information is safe? If you want people to be able to access it on a mobile device, can you use it on a phone? Can you also use it on a desktop? How does that look? Who owns the content? So sometimes you have to keep in mind, like when you post something on a website, who actually is owning that content? Have you signed a contract that the LMS says everything you put on here is now mine? Thank you very much. Or, you just want to make sure that you have that information. And then what type of content can be placed? If you're wanting to do interactive quizzes, does your LMS allow you to do interactive quizzes? The other thing to keep in mind are just modes of learning. So when you're offering a training that is not face-to-face, you do have to have two different modes of learning. And they're including but not limited to mini lectures, demonstration, brainstorming, observation, written assignments, case studies, handouts that need to be completed, discussion boards, games, videos with questions, readings with questions, role play, poster activities, etc. There is a whole host of different ways that you can offer modes of learning. So those are just a few samples of them. All right, and then we'll go on to the next one. So we are going to go into a discussion board here in just a minute. I'll get it set up. So when you go into this discussion board, we want you guys to think about the presentation of talking about things that you might hear my cats in the background, sorry. Presentation of content. This is a great segue to go back to slide 1 to talk about what has happened in the middle of a meeting. So when you go into your breakout rooms, just kind of talking about how could you use a website in online learning? Have you ever seen a website used effectively? Like, have you gone to a website and said, oh, this is awesome? What have you liked or not liked about using websites for online learning? So we just want you guys to have a discussion in your groups and then share your takeaways using that sticky note feature. So as you guys are having conversations and talking about things, just put those sticky notes up there. When we come back from the breakout room, we'll look at some of those sticky notes and kind of discuss those a little further if we want to. All right, now I'm gonna start moving everybody over and just need to add 2 more people to a group that didn't get added. Sorry about that. All right, everyone should be moving over and you have 10 minutes. Sorry, I know sometimes it's very abrupt and rough to leave. Looks like everybody's coming back. Oh, I think everyone might be back now. All right, just kind of double checking that. All right, well, we'll just kind of talk about a couple of the things. Feel free to add anything on here. I won't go over all of them, but feel free to add anything that you want to. Let's see, some people do videos count as website used. Does whoever put that up there or whoever's in that group, do you care to unmute and kind of elaborate a little bit, or write in chat, kind of elaborate what you mean? Does it count as a website used for videos?
Well, that was just mine. And that was one, when we first got in there, they're like, well, what are they classifying as a website? What are you meaning? Because most of them haven't actually used very many. So that was just a question. Does doing a YouTube video work? So I tried throwing that in as a question while we were discussing.
Okay, so videos can be definitely utilized in a training, in person, online, whatever type of training you have. When we're talking about like a website for online learning, it's not typically referring to just watching a video. So like that would just be considered under like a mode of learning, a way that you're presenting the material, not necessarily the website for that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And I know there are several people on that actually do have some websites. Do any of you, I won't call anybody out by name, but if any of you care to like unmute or put in chat, be happy to hear from you, get some, hear what your thoughts and takeaways might be for somebody who's never done a website.
I have a website, if you're talking to me.
Yes.
I have a website with online learning, and it's definitely an expense, but it's worth the expense in my opinion, because all my courses are online, and so it's worth the expense because everything is there, everything's together. We use LearnDash so that we have all of our records together. I'm fortunate that my husband is a tech person, so he can take care of that part of it for me. And it works great for us.
Awesome. How do you feel not being a tech person? How do you feel you would have been able to use a website? Do you think you would have had a little bit of a learning curve, or would you just have been lost in the wind?
I think I could have learned it. It's
Okay.
not, I've learned a lot about it. We've been doing this for about 4 years now. I think we're in our 4th year. And I think in the very beginning, I thought that's way over my head. I could never do it myself. But now that I've been through the years of doing it, he's shown me so many things, and I'm fairly confident that if I didn't have him now, I could do it on my own. We talked about this in the breakout group a little bit, that in the very beginning, I bought Storyline 3 to do my courses on, and I spent the first couple of weeks weeping every day and saying, I'm too stupid, I can't learn this, I'll never figure it out. And now I look at it and it just seems like my 11-year-old granddaughter could do this. It's a matter of having the confidence to know I can learn this.
Yeah. Anyone else that does online? Do you guys want to chime in with any thoughts?
So I have a website too. Connie and I have actually talked to each other quite a bit about this whole journey. So my website, I use something called Lifter LMS. It's similar to Dashboard, except that it's a WordPress tool, and it's pretty customizable. I have complete control over it. I started off using a free version of Blackboard until I got my courses up and running and kind of got a handle on things. And then I literally searched for free or low cost LMS, and Lifter LMS came up, and I checked it out, and it looked easy enough that I thought, well, I'll give it a try. And I literally had my website built and my first course up later that day. And I'm not a website guru. I am an instructional designer, so I know a lot about LMS systems and technology, but not a lot about website design at all. But I was able, they had a lot of walkthrough videos, a lot of tutorials, and I was really able to use those and get everything up and running. It's been quite a journey. I love it. I've made enough that I was able to quit my full-time job and just do this full-time now. I worked at a university before, but I will say it's much more labor intensive than anything that I had ever imagined it to be. There's a lot of things that I just hadn't anticipated. Lots of, oh, I need to do this now. What's a plugin that I can use to accomplish that? I did find that there's a lot of Facebook groups out there for course creators that can be really helpful in learning how to do things. And the one thing that really drew me to Lifter is that if you buy the most expensive version, which really isn't that expensive considering LMS costs, but there's no limit on how many students you can have. So I liked that. My cost wasn't going to go up as I kept growing. I have about 8,000 users right now. But the thing I liked about it is that every Thursday afternoon they have a call, and I actually get to talk to the developer himself.
Oh.
And it's a really small group. So, I was just trying to change email systems and I was having trouble. And so I got on the call, I told them what I needed to do. They gave me all the instructions, showed me how to do it. So I like having that personal person that I can reach out to get things done. But it's been a journey for sure.
And
And
Dawn,
then-
I've tried to drop in the chat and on the board
Yes,
the
thank you
website
so
for
much.
what Jenny was talking about.
Thank you. Connie, do you have the website for yours? And the LMS you use, is there a website that we can refer people to?
For my website,
For the LMS that you use.
For
Is
Learn Dash.
I
it Learn Dash that you use?
don't know.
Okay. It's fine. I was gonna say we could pop it in there.
I mean, I know our website address, but I don't know LMS.
I understand
Yeah, I
that.
think it's just learndash.com.
LearnDash.com. Okay.
I mean, a couple of the other ones that I've seen, I know LearnDash is one. If you don't want to invest in your own website and you want someone else to sort of host it all for you, there are pros and cons to that. But Thinkific is one that kind of has a couple of different plans to get you started, where you don't have to worry about your own website and hosting and all of those sorts of things. It's all sort of bundled together. So that's another one that I think can be pretty interesting to check out.
What was that name?
I'll type it in the chat for you.
Thank you.
Hans, do you want to copy it and put it on that postie? And then somebody put on here, you know, what is the cost of Jamboard? The cost of Jamboard is my favorite cost, which is free. So Jamboard is actually just part of Google Suite. So like it's one of the features under Google. I of course don't have my little thingy-majingy up here, but like when you're on Google, like the google.com, and it's got those dots in the corner, when you click on that, one of the options down there is Jamboard. For me, like there's like 2 levels, I guess, what I access most and what I don't access that often. I don't know if that's the way it's divided up, but that's how it is in my head. So it's in that second layer down there. And it's just got like, you might just see this little J, a little decorative J on there. And you just click it. There's a little button, I think that says like new, or I can't remember exactly what it says, so that you can make a new one. And that's how you access it. To create it, you just need a Google account. So you do have to have some sort of Google account to create the Jamboards. To share it though, you just have to have the link. I will say that whenever you are sharing, you do want to make sure, I don't know if you can see the pop-up or not, you do want to make sure that you you change the way the links are. So like this one says anyone on the internet can access it with the link. But if I changed it that, you know, only anybody from University of Kentucky, or I could change it that you could only view it, but you can't make any changes to it. So just always double check that. It's usually set at the highest level of security first, and then you can add to it. I know one time I changed a Jamboard to anyone with the link can view, and I didn't realize I hadn't put edit until people were like, I can't do anything. So it's good to run through it first. But just anything with Google, if you're familiar with using Google, Google has like, that's one of the key features with what they use. So just making sure that depending on how you want people, if you want people just to look at it, or if you want people to be able to do this and make changes on it. So, all right. Let's see, anything else we're forgetting? Yes, video sound. That was a learning experience for me as well. Like whenever it was like, why can't anybody hear what I'm saying? Oh, there's a little button right there you have to click. And if you don't click that button, nobody can hear. I actually helped my son's OT at school one day because she was watching a video with him and it wasn't easy to hear. And I was like, did you know about the button you have to click? And she's like, no, tell me about this button. So. We'll go on to the next. Sorry, Hans, you're in the middle of that and I flipped the slide around. So we're going to kind of talk a little bit about data entry. And just kind of as we go into that, a couple things to remember that as a trainer, once you get your credential, you are agreeing that you're going to follow all rules and regulations. And then especially with online learning, you're just agreeing that you're following all rules and regulations pertaining to online learning. But the key thing to remember, you are able to decide what is required for completion of the course and in order to receive credit, and if applicable, when it is due. So you have power over that, even though you have to follow regulations, you have to be within regulations, but you have that control. So when you're entering data into ECE TRIS, a couple of things to keep in mind. A webinar is pretty similar to face-to-face, the way you're entering it in, because a webinar has a specific day, a specific time that you're doing the content. So like for this meeting, there was a specific date, there was a specific time. So it's, for all intents and purposes for data entry, it's the same as a face-to-face when you're entering it in. A hybrid, because there's going to be a face-to-face and an online portion, or a webinar and an online portion, you have to make sure that everything is completed before they get credit for it, whether or not it's a pre-assignment, a post-assignment, just however you do it. If you have, you know, once again, using FET, here's module 1, module 2. Once you do those 2 modules, then we have our face-to-face, then we have our last module. You have to complete all of those components in order to get the credit. So you have to have all of those components completed. Always keep that in mind too for grading purposes. If you have a class of like 60 people and you have to grade 60 assignments that are like 5 pages long, just kind of keep that in mind. And then online or independent study, information is input into ECE TRIS prior to the session. And then for lack of better words, it creates like a shell. So it kind of just creates this training in there. And as people complete it, you go and enter it in. So as somebody finishes, you know, a training online on HDI learning, you know, we go to that shell and say that person completed it, that person completed it. And usually your LMS system is the one that's telling you that the person has completed all the components, they've finished all the quizzes, whatever requirements there are with it. It used to be that you had to contact ECE TRIS and they would put this training in for you if it was online or independent study, but they now have on that main page a little button for you to click, a link for you to click where you can enter it in yourself now. So you don't have to wait for them to get that entered in. They still look at it and DCC looks at it, but you can enter it in now. That will be a benefit of COVID and everybody having online trainings. We were able to get that button. So, all right. And then this will lead us into our next breakout room. So our next breakout room, we're going to talk about the lovely, lovely data entry and online training. So same thing as before, I'm going to move everybody over into your rooms. You'll be in the same rooms that you were before. And then I am actually going to change an option so that people can't move out. There were some accidental button clickings and stuff like that. So I'm going to change that option first so that nobody can move out on their own so they don't accidentally leave. I couldn't figure out how to get them back into the room. And so you guys are going to have the chance to talk about this. And then same thing as before, just share your takeaways on those sticky notes. And let me change that. All right. You'll have 10 minutes with the 10-second countdown again. Welcome back, everyone.
Glad I asked.
Hello, hello. I think we've got everyone back now.
Yeah, Dawn, we still have 32 people in. That's how many started. Yay!
That's always good. All right, well, we'll just take a second or two to go over like the data entry, cameras to see people's faces. Yes, that is a good thing to have and to use, especially if you do want to confirm that people are there. And you can always say, I don't see you, you weren't there. Like that is a possibility. Let's see, notification, when quizzes are completed, use of polls, breakout rooms. Chat several times. Yes. Having like check-ins, whether announced or unannounced, are really good. So you can kind of have that. There was one I was on one time and there was like a kind of one of those activate prior knowledge questions at the beginning. And then at the end, there was another follow-up question with that. Sorry, I see my neighbor's kid walking down the street. Oh, there's the mom, sorry. And the follow-up question was related to that first question, but it was also used as a check-in to make sure that everybody, was still there. Google Forms, sign out chat. Yeah, one thing that they've learned, part of the evaluation. Yes. You, once again, as a trainer, you have control. This is your training. You can do what you want. I really like things to not, my own personal life and everything, not to just be like I'm just doing this for the sake of doing it. But yeah, having them sign out, like to be part of the evaluation.
Hello, this
So
is
you
Carol. Yes.
All right. All right. See a couple more things going on before I flip over. Just double check. All right. Well, are there any takeaways? So anybody that has done, once again, online trainings or have been involved in online trainings, what's something that you really liked or disliked about like getting that data entry? Or is there any advice or recommendation that you would give to people doing it?
My biggest advice would be to stay on top of it. Don't let it pile up and try to catch up. Because you've got your 10 days and you don't want to wait till day 9 and try to get it all in, because that's the day that you get in an accident and then you panic.
Yeah.
And then I'm paranoid about the 10-day thing.
I was going to do a quick pop quiz and see if anybody knew how many days they had. She answered the question for me. It's okay.
I know how many days in every state.
Any other questions that anybody has? Yes, Hans was making sure, and goodbye, Austin. Thank you for coming. It's 10 calendar days, so just making sure that you remember that. It's not business days, it is calendar days. So to keep that in mind, that can make a big difference. All right, well, we'll just go ahead and move into final thoughts. Miss Glenna.
First of all, we'd like to thank you all for participating today. The breakout sessions were interesting. Based on what you've heard today, what are some topics or ideas that you would like to know more about or dive into deeper? Please use your sticky note feature, just like in the breakout rooms, to share a topic or an idea that you would like to explore more for possible future trainer connections. And please share at least one idea. If you all talked about something in a room, it doesn't have to be your idea. Something that you heard that you would like to know more about or see a future connection on.
My sticky note thing isn't working, but I would like to see more about how to do interactions.
Interactions. Good idea.
Just
Got
fun
that.
interactions in online.
All right, I put it up there for you.
Okay. Games. Good. Interactions, another interaction.
Oh, 3. See, it's not just me.
Three
That's
votes for interaction.
on.
Well, if we got more than one, then we know that's definitely something that needs to be talked about. So
And games, that's an interaction.
yes,
Yeah.
more software ideas like Jamboard.
If you can't access the sticky note, just type it into chat if you would like. That'll be fine. Let's see
Pros
if
and
people are
cons of
having
various
some
LMS. Okay.
evaluations.
I will say one of the things that we're going to put in the resources section of the online community is there is like an LMS checklist that I have. Well, not checklist, but just like a little check sheet of things to kind of, some of them were the things that I mentioned in that little drop down, that kind of has a little bit more information. It's kind of hard to compare and contrast lots of LMS systems though, because there are lots of LMS systems out there. But we can definitely get like, okay, so these are some key features that you might want to keep in mind, questions to ask, things to know. I know that some people they'll search, like Jenny was saying, like searching different things, you just kind of figure out, okay, I need this, and this, do these offer it, and just sometimes that narrows it down for you. So it's kind of like when I was looking for childcare years ago, I was like, okay, here are my list of things. Food program was high on the list because I can barely remember to pack my own lunch. Like the kids won't be getting fed if I don't have the food program. So if they didn't offer the food program, like it was, they might still be on the list, but they were really low down on the list.
Mm-hmm.
Storyline was mentioned, so somebody talked about Storyline.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one that I'm not too terribly familiar with.
I have Storyline if anybody has any questions.
Actually,
Yeah,
thank you.
I'm really familiar with it too, and I can actually give you guys a link to like it's a free resource that I helped UC develop around playscapes, but it shows like a super intricate storyline module, so I'm happy to share that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the segue, because I was going to say anybody that has experience is okay with people like reaching out to them for questions. If you want to, either on a sticky note or in the chat, just share your name and contact information. Feel free to put your websites down too, if you want people to be able to take a peek at the website to see what kinds of things you have on there. And then we'll just make sure that like when we do the resources, we'll share your contact information with everyone, if you're okay with that. If you're not okay with that, then don't put your contact information in. And the little animal icons, it's just the way Google anonymously like separates everybody. So unless you are logged in under Google, so like Bethany actually has like a little face going around because she's logged in through Google doing this. But if you aren't logged in, it anonymously gives you an animal. And I'm loving all the animals that they have. So like there's the anonymous beaver. Hans is the moose. We discovered that pretty early on. There's the anonymous camel, the anonymous bat. There are a lot of animals on here that I've never heard of that I'm like, I need to look up these animals because I've never heard of them. But then there's Bethany. Sorry, Bethany.
It's okay.
So, yeah.
I think I put it in my email address. I have 2 broken arms right now, so it's kind of hard to type.
Oh no, are you okay?
Well, sort of, kind of. I'm getting there.
Oh no, I am so sorry.
I'm doing a hunt and peck with the typing right now.
Oh my goodness. What happened? Or, I mean, don't feel.
I fell off a cliff.
Oh,
Goodness.
15 feet. I have a lot of broken bone. It's a long story,
Oh,
but
goodness.
if that looks funky, that's why.
I am so sorry. Oh, they changed the link. That's not very nice of them, Jenny.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that leads into a good thing to talk about when you're creating trainings. You do need to go through every so often and make sure links haven't changed. So, because that can happen.
And sign into your own trainings every once in a while, because we had an episode once where we didn't get any sales for a couple of days and we couldn't figure out why. And I went and signed on and the site was down and we didn't even know it.
Oh no. Goodness. All right. I'm just going to flip through because we are over time.
okay. Our next trainer connection will be November the 17th at 2:00. The details and registration will be emailed at a later date. So be on the lookout for that. The title is Openers and Icebreakers from a Social Distance. So that should be interesting.
And that may be, I know some of you guys were talking about the activities and games that might help give you some ideas.
Day after my birthday, bring cake.
Oh, happy birthday. We'll make sure we bring cake for you. I'll eat it.
If you've missed some of the Trainers Connections and would like to go back and view them, you can find them at www.hdIlearning.org. And just look under the category of adult learning.
All right. And didn't think I had an extra ones. I will say that is the downside to Jamboard. When you click the arrow, it adds more slides, so it doesn't matter who clicks it. So when I saw 9, I was like, I don't think we had 9 on here. So I was double checking that. So yes. So that, yes, we are officially over. You are welcome to stay. I'm more than happy to answer questions or talk to anybody. Thank you, Bethany. You can add in your little own images if you want to as well. So
What
we're
function
having,
is that called? What
I
is
just
that one?
recently found out that how to add images in Jamboard, so that I was like, dang it, they kept saying sticky note. So I just had to.
sorry. Yes, there are options in here. I don't know if that popped it up. Like you can add, like there's the pen, the erase option, the sticky note, the add image, circle option. So you can just put random circles, the text box option, and then a laser option. So there's all kinds of fun options. Sticky note tends to be the easiest for me, at least, to use for writing tools. So. Yes, the sticky note feature, it is fun. It was a while before I realized you could change the color of it, and I don't know why it took me that long to figure that out. And then when we do share the updates, just, we'll have it all online. We will have the link to this Jamboard, so everyone will be able to access this again in the future.